Hi YouTube vinyl enthusiasts, it's Marty, and today I want to do a little detour from our usual record collecting videos that we normally do. I know I've seen a lot of you mention that you don't watch much television. You spend more time with your record collection or viewing your subscriptions on YouTube. And but I'm a bit of a television watcher in the sense that I love movies, love cinema. And I have a small collection that's pretty good, high quality, and I have a bunch of Japanese movies. And I'm a real fan of samurai films. I've seen a lot more than I own, but I do own 13 Japanese movies, and every one of them is worth watching. So I thought I would show those, give a little description on each, and maybe if you find you have a little time to sit down and watch television, you might be able to find any of these films and check them out. So here they are. First film is The Burmese Harp, which is an anti-war film, or perhaps a pro-peace film. The story starts after the war has ended, and a young Japanese soldier is asked to talk to a company of holdouts who have continued fighting. The soldiers refuse, they beat him up, and then they continue to fight. But when the soldier returns to consciousness, he is the only survivor. And he starts on a journey home, and on the way he discovers his own road to peace. Next, The Hidden Blade. This story takes place in the mid-1800s, has a little action, but it's not an action film. It's more of a story about political intrigue and social castes. There's a bit of a distant cousin to the Romeo and Juliet story, and it has a pretty neat adversarial plot mixed in with a person in high power who's corrupt. Like a lot of these films, you have to watch this one several times to really start to understand it. Next, Akira Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress. It stars Toshiro Mifune, probably the most well-known Japanese actor of all time. The back says, a general and a princess must dodge enemy clans while smuggling the royal treasure out of hostile territory with two bumbling, conniving peasants at their sides. And no, it's not Star Wars, although George Lucas knows this film, and it probably had some minor influence on Star Wars. Highly recommended. And while we're on Kurosawa and Mifune, here is Yojimbo. And this one, nameless samurai pits two evil clans against each other, and of course comes out the winner. This was remade by Sergio Leone as A Fistful of Dollars, and Clint Eastwood became a star with these films. Everybody's probably seen that. They're both classics. The second Samurai Without a Name film is Sanjuro, which I love because of Mifune's really great anti-hero character. He's a samurai who can't be outfought and can't be outsmarted, but he's a long way from being a country gentleman. He's more of kind of a rogue, and who needs a bath. Great character. I love these films. Now, here's When the Last Sword is Drawn. Probably my favorite out of all of these. It's primarily about the end of the samurai period, and it's about a country samurai who leaves his clan to find a way to feed his family. And to the other samurai, his manner is strange. They regard him as kind of a backwoods guy, but they find out that he's made of a lot more than they suspect, and come to respect him in the end. This is a great film. I've watched it 4 times, and it's a little more difficult to understand because it has flashbacks. It has some very subtle Japanese cultural references, but it's definitely worth hanging in there, and eventually you really come to appreciate this movie. Now, Ran, which is one of Kurosawa's most epic films. It's based loosely on King Lear, except that the king has 3 sons instead of 3 daughters, and when he picks one to be his successor, of course all hell breaks loose. The 3 splashes of color that are on the cover of this DVD represent the 3 sons. The cinematography is awesome, and at the end the armies in their brilliant colors just charging back and forth. They're just breathtaking. The next 3 films are a trilogy about one of the most famous samurai of all time, Musashi Miyamoto. It starts when he's young, brash, and pretty much regarded as an outlaw. As the story goes along, he's lured into a trap by a priest who captures him and eventually teaches him the path of the samurai. And then in the 3rd installment, Miyamoto fights his lifelong nemesis in a sunrise battle on a beach. which is beautifully photographed. The lead here is played by Toshiro Mifune. Next, Throne of Blood, which also stars Mifune, and this is Kurosawa's version of Shakespeare's Macbeth. The movie has a lot of surreal photography and scenes, and if you're not familiar with Macbeth, it's the story of a warrior whose wife goads him into murder to gain power. Highly recommended. It's kind of haunting in black and white. Then, of course, here's a real classic, Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. Beautiful, colorful, anamorphic Godzilla story. So, ridiculous to say the least. Basically, a team of scientists develop a way to create a black hole that they can use to suck up the giant beast. But it backfires, and a giant flying creature from another dimension comes through and takes up headquarters in Tokyo. I would say no brain is really required to view this movie. Lastly, we have The Sword of Doom, which I've seen described by one critic as overrated, but I happen to really like this movie. The plot involves a samurai who is actually kind of a deranged psychopathic killer. He has no conscience, no feelings, but he's virtually unbeatable in a sword fight. So it makes for some pretty nasty viewing. I mean, you hate the character, but he's the main character. Some viewers may just find this story too hard to watch. So anyway, that's my 13 films from Japan. I recommend all of them. If you get a chance, check some of them out. So sayonara. Have a great day. Bye now.